Good evening, everybody. Welcome to UpStart Live. Today's is the first session of the new year 2022. Happy New Year's to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. PayU, as you all know, is one of the leading payment service providers. We are across sectors like airlines, SMB, and of course the startup community. I'm Mansa. I'm your host for the evening. So Upstart and Codeup is one of the properties is a property that PayU runs, and Upstart is for startup entrepreneurs, where we bring in subject matter experts like Sreedevi here to talk about various topics. Could be around marketing, sales, any daily operations related topics. That's what we try to cover in our Upstart sessions. I think there's a bit of a lag, but I think that is okay. We will manage that. But yes, so today we have with us Sreedevi. She is a sales and strategy coach. She is an entrepreneur herself who has a consulting firm that is Tattvamassi. So she's going to be talking about becoming a celebrity, that is SALEIBRITY, celebrity, with a perspective of a startup. So we are going to try and cover as much information around becoming the best thing that your startup has seen on this sales front. So given that she has an experience of entrepreneurship herself, plus being a sales and strategy coach, Sreedevi is our best speaker, that our expert speaker for the session. So a little bit about her. She is a seasoned management professional with a background in banking, insurance, courier, real estate, and automobile. She is a certified organizational development coach, specialization in sales and strategy. So she has over 2 decades of work experience in banking and other banking as the important sector, and she has also come from a senior VP role of and she has come from a senior VP role and then taken up coaching as a profession. So whenever she coaches from experience, right? She is an alumnus of IIM, and she's now the board of governors there, IIM Kozhikode. So yes, Sreedevi, I do not want to waste much time on this. I want to give it over to you to take on the session. We have a slide. We have a slider. We have a set of slides that Sreedevi will take up, and I'm just bringing that up, Sreedevi, while you just start off with anything that you might want to add, otherwise that I might have missed out.
Thank you so much, Manasa. And this is it's really very humbling to be addressing the first session for PayU. First of all, to all the startup entrepreneurs who are probably listening in, congratulations. The bold decision has already been taken. More power to you. Having come from a corporate experience of about 20-22 years, last 2 months has taught me an enormous number of lessons. If I was to ask myself today, where do I stand? Who am I when compared to who I was in the last 25 years? Of course, gratitude to all those big organizations that taught me all my lessons. But it's extremely humbling, it's extremely empowering, and it is a learning journey every day to be not just an entrepreneur. The icing on the cake for me was that I started off as a solopreneur and now I'm looking to scale up and go forward. It's been incidental that I carved my niche in the areas of sales and strategy. Sales happened to me by accident. And today I am in that stage of my life where I believe there are really no accidents. Everything happens by design. The lessons that I have learned are so precious that my whole journey of becoming a coach, of becoming a sales and strategy coach for organizations is therefore my pay forward to the society. This is my way of, thanking my gurus and my mentors who have brought me so far. So without much ado, Manasa, once again, thank you for having me on your session. I really hope those of us who are listening in are able to, learn from each other as we go through. These are not lessons that are carved in stone, but the beauty about sales is that we kind of learn every day. Every day is a new learning. So that's the biggest message that I would like to leave you with. So kindly start with the screen, because I think the screen went. All right. So Manasa, just tell me as I'm moving the screen whether it is moving. 1 minute. I'm going to move the screen now. Did it move?
Yes, yes, it's
All right.
on track. You
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to go back because give you a short introduction about why I thought of this talk. So, when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I did not realize how important, it is to become a salesperson. While I was handling a team of very efficient salespeople throughout my life, it was actually when I became an entrepreneur that I realized how important this skill, this whole behavior is required for an entrepreneur, especially a startup. One of my first assignments was with Parul University. I was looking at their e-startup cell, and that is where I kind of, when I was sitting and hearing the startups make their presentation one after the other, it happened on two occasions. One is I was hearing the startups make their presentations one after the other. I was also co-judging an event for the startup cell of IIT Madras. And when I heard the very passionate people speak about the prototypes that they had or the startup idea that they had, and I kept asking them questions as to how will you take it to market, because go to market is something that I'm very passionate about. I realized that there was a big vacuum there. Okay, that is something that we probably all of us shy away from because we're so caught up with what we do, we're so passionate about what we do, we're so absorbed with what we do that the whole proposition that I am doing this activity, I am creating this product, I am trying to propagate this service, kind of misses the point that I'm actually doing it for somebody in need, which is why I have, named this session as becoming a celebrity. So it was actually when I was sitting there that I created my first content saying, this is my pay forward moment. This is what I need to take back to the society. The art of providing value and help customers win, and thereby you wins, because then it is a symbiotic relationship. So, sitting there, Manasa, this was a statement that just popped up in my head. Like we say, actions speak louder than words. I was telling those very young startup entrepreneurs who came with those brilliant ideas that you know what, numbers speak louder than words. I I am happy that you have a great startup idea. The world is happy that you have a great startup idea, but you need to start showing numbers. So, what are these numbers that we're talking about? And I'm going straight for the jugular when I'm saying what are these numbers that we're talking about. We will talk about sales. We will talk about what is a sales mindset. We will talk about acumen a little later. But just to kind of understand why we do what we do, that the golden circle that Simon Sinek keeps referring to, that why do we do it? Why do I run a business? Why do I have to talk about targets? Why is sales so important? The why is what I have tried to encompass in this slide. One is customer retention. You need to hold the customer back. And who is the customer that you need to hold back? You need to have retention of those customers who are paying you your market price, not your discounted price or your freebies, but that customer who will pay you your market price, the value of what your product or your service is really worth. A high number of those customers will mean a high lifetime value from each customer. Okay. Second is you need to have a gross margin for whatever that you're selling. Now, every company can have its comfort zone. Sometimes it will be 10, sometimes it will be 90. In a profession like mine, a gross margin of even 80% is possible with good planning. However, if you are doing something which has no gross margin, then net profitability will become a dream. The very intention with which we are running a business will lose its overall value. So, if you are in the product, if you are in the prototype stage, if you are in the testing stage, if you are in the beta stage, if you are also in the alpha stage, this is a moment to probably stand back and ask yourself, am I making gross margin per ticket? The third and the most important thing, and you can put in any models and you will somehow see that these are the three moving parts: customer referrals, gross margins, paying customers, customer referrals, gross margins. They kind of go together like a very beautiful mix. What do I mean by customer referral? A high number will mean that your cost of acquisition of every customer has come down. If one customer is referring you to another customer because of your good service and because of your great product, it means that your customer acquisition cost has come down. Sales mindset, sales acumen is required simply because you have to pay attention to these three things, no matter what stage of the startup that you are in. Now, who are you banking on? Especially when you're a startup, and this is an article that I picked up from the Reserve Bank of India website. This was published in 2019. I've even given you the link to where you can go and find it. Any startup today requires the source of funds to get started, right? Now, what does the study say? And in a while, I'm going to connect you to why I had to bring in this study here. Friends and family emerged as the largest source of funding apart from own funds. So even me today, when I have started my own organization as a consulting and coaching firm, 100% of the source of funding is mine. It is mine alone. 13% of the startups, they receive international funding. Over three-fourths of the startup needed up to 1 crore of capital, whereas around 41% infused capital of about 20 lakhs each. Three-fourths of the startup had working capital requirements of more than 10 lakhs. 36% of the startups availed loans from institutions. Why did I have to say this? I wanted to show you this slide only to tell you that 43% is banking on their own funds and the rest is what is coming from outside. Now, imagining the fact that you have a great idea and imagining the fact that there is a buyer out there who probably believes in your idea, what is it that probably is not building the bridge between your idea and identifying your buyer? It is the sales mindset. Like I said, we're very engrossed with what we do. We're passionate about what we do. But do we have the art of transferring the passion of what we have about that product to a person who is ready to invest in you? And that is why sales and strategy, to have a plan and then to execute the plan. And executing the plan is all about having that sales muscle, like I have begun to call it today, or the sales mindset that is so required for you to get started and for you to take your business forward. Because if you're not taking that whole business forward, then the very idea of why you conceived it has lost its purpose. So again, this is something that I kind of derived after some reading, some analysis, some talking, sitting with some startups, spending time with them. I have been working with some of the very renowned names in the startup industry, and this has been my humble learning that while business is profit, ideas are cost. Every idea that you have to improve the business is actually a cost. Interestingly, only ideas can build business. So you can't do one without the other. So you need a good combination of both. In fact, you need both of them to go together. You can't have a business where you're not innovating and generating ideas. You cannot have an idea which is not giving you the business for it. But unless you know how to turn ideas into business, you always remain in a cost surplus. A combination of both is what makes a successful enterprise. Another thought, in business, profits are essential while ideas are luxury. In a similar thought, for any entrepreneur, prototypes should be vetted with the pennies that it brings. So basically what we are trying to say here is that it is great for you to have a strategy, it is great for you to have a product, but it is also necessary for you to have a sales plan, a plan to take it to market. What is your go-to-market strategy and how will you execute it? So your go-to-market strategy again is a strategy. So you have a product, you have a go-to-market strategy, and then you need someone to execute it. The fact with startups is that we don't have the luxury to sometimes, and some of you may have it, and hats off to you if you have built that worthiness with your investors. But for most of us who are starting a startup, we do not have the luxury to engage or to build a sales team from day one. We are the sole carriers of that idea. And we are the sole carriers of that idea even when the company has expanded. Because remember, the thought was always yours, the idea was always yours. You have to sometimes constantly sell it to your own teams, or you will have to keep selling it to the world at large, or you have to keep selling it to your investor, or you have to keep selling it to your stakeholder, or you have to keep selling the idea to the venture capitalist. It is it is important that your ideas are constantly churned out into business results for the investors to continue investing in your journey. So this was my learning about profit versus ideas. And here is something that when I work with organizations as a sales and strategy coach, and especially with startups, I have always been asked this question: ki, how is sales different from marketing? And mind you, this is not just about the English, because I know a lot of us have, in the old English, we used to say marketing actually for sales, and they are always mostly interchangeable words. But here is the actual understanding, here is the actual definition of what marketing and sales is. Marketing is where you're creating a demand for what you have to sell by addressing the customer needs. You are merely creating a demand over here. Sales is where you are helping those who need what you have to make a decision. I take a step back when I'm talking about this. Um, you have various platforms where you're able to order food online. So let's take a Swiggy and a Zomato and a what don't you have. Now, what has it done? The app, or the ads around the app has created the need for us to understand that you can actually order food within the comfort of your home or within the comfort of your office. But who wins? Who is selling better? Is actually where sales comes in. Um, the difference between a Pepsi and a Coke. You've created a demand for soda. You've created a demand for aerated drinks. But who is selling the most is when you have actually addressed the needs of your customer. Where you have helped your customer to make a decision is when sales actually happens over there. So, what is this sales mindset that we are talking about? I'm just going to toggle screens to see if we have any messages as of now. So, Manasa, I'm just carrying on. Tell me if you are able to see my screen.
Sure.
Belief in yourself. So, how do you master the sales mindset? What is a sales mindset all about? Okay, now this is this is a little bit of science that I'm trying to bring in here. So they say that there are four types of intelligence that opens the door to an ultra sales performance. What is it? One is innate intelligence, acquired intelligence, technological intelligence, and emotional intelligence. What is innate intelligence? And this is what is often the myth behind salespeople. They think salespeople are born. If you are an extroverted character, you have the confidence in speaking. You have been doing elocution and debates in school. Then you must be a master salesperson. You can sell ice to the Eskimo, kind of a personality that you come around with. Yes, yes, you need to have that mindset. You need to have the ability to, to speak forth with passion. It doesn't mean that you have to be an extroverted character. Actually, I would always classify myself as an introverted character. I know many people who know me find that very surprising. They tell me, hey, you know, that's not possible. But I am. I have very, very few friends. I am hardly present on social media. But when I have been given a task and I have been asked to convince somebody else about the task, there is that element in me that studies it well, that understands the pros and cons, that is able to express correctly the way that it has to be expressed. So, should you have some bit of innate intelligence to be a good sales guy? Yes. You need to have the bent of mind, like we say. So, in order to be a painter, you need to have the flair for colors. You need to be able to understand it. Not someone like me who's absolutely colorblind. I really struggle sometimes on what kind of clothes to choose, or what should be the right color palette to go for if I'm dressing up for a party. So yes, from that perspective, you need to have a little bit of innate intelligence. But is that what it takes? No. Acquired intelligence, in fact, supersedes innate intelligence. Again, I would call myself an example of that. I have never in my life, Manasa, ever imagined that I would ever become a salesperson. The first 7 years, so whatever that you read out, that I was in couriers, I was in automobiles, I was in real estate, and I was in manufacturing, was all where I was heading customer service teams. I was not at all a salesperson. Sales happened to be by an incident, and like I said, I refuse to use the word accident anymore because I don't think there is any accidents in life. Everything happens by design. But when it happened, and when I got into it, I learned to swim. I read books, I watched my mentors, I had role models, I looked at what were the best practices around me, and I acquired it. And many who were my colleagues during that point in time, and many who could be listening in today, those of you whose startup ideas have actually sold. In fact, the founder of PayU Rooms, this is acquired intelligence where you are able to say, okay, this is how much that I know. Now, how much more can I pick up from here? But you need to have that quotient. So why do we talk about it? We say that you need to develop that quotient in you to say, let me go there and let me learn what it takes to be a good salesman. The third is technological intelligence, and this is more come into play in today's world where we are being led by a digital economy. Anything and everything today is being looked through the lens of artificial intelligence because we're trying to bring down manual interference. We're trying to bring down, manual labor into anything. So therefore, the ability to adapt to something which is digital, the ability to adapt to technology platforms again has to be there as a bent of mind. And I am amazed with the way the senior citizens population has actually adapted to the concept of smartphones. That is technological intelligence. They are really challenged for something that they did not know. Today, all payments are happening through Google Pay or some other payment app. Groceries are being ordered through an app. You are ordering your fish and meat through an app. So when I see my father, the way he's adopting himself to the technological intelligence that he probably never had, that is a sales mindset. The ability to push yourself forward and say, I'm going to pick this up. But if you remain challenged, if you remain in denial, and if you say, I am not going to adapt to technology and I will remain where I am, you will remain where you are. Simple as that, no rocket science there. But the last and the most important thing is emotional intelligence. You may have all of this, but if you are not able to be the best judge of yourself, understanding who you are on a particular day when you are speaking to your clients. So as I'm talking today, let me be honest, I am selling to you. I am selling to you the idea of sales and strategy. I am selling to you, probably a course that you should be picking up on sales and strategy. But if I'm sitting here disturbed, if I'm sitting here distracted, if I'm sitting here sad, if I'm sitting here fearful, if I'm sitting here angry, I'm 100% sure you can see through me. So, what is the most important ability that you need to have to develop a sales mindset is emotional intelligence. The intelligence to understand who you are, where you stand, versus the intelligence to understand who are you addressing, where do they stand, how do they look, what are they perceiving about what you are saying. So remember this Q, because there is also one more Q which is very important in addition to this IQ, AQ, TQ, and EQ. The newest Q in town, my dear friends, is something called as positive intelligence, PQ, which means the ability to be optimistic, especially in the post-COVID world. This is something that I'm seeing with all the clients that I'm working with. The ability to say that what got you so far is not going to get you to the next level. You need to become a different version of yourself. You need to understand, and I love the way Jeb Blount actually has classified it in his book Sales EQ. He says the ability to adapt, adopt, and be adept. So the three A's, the ability to adapt, adopt, and adept, is nothing but emotional intelligence. A little bit of techniques, because we are talking about a hardcore sales acumen over here. What does it constitute to become a good salesperson? What does it constitute to have the right sales funnel for your organization? Or even if you are an individual working in a corporate organization, if you're listening in and you want to understand how do I become a good salesperson, this is a bit of theory. Uh, and you can remember it with the acronym SPACER. What is SPACER? A, suspecting, gathering names. When I'm trying to sell a product, or so for me, it is, I sell coaching services. I am a consultant and a coach. So A is that I draw a niche. I understand that my specialty is BFSI, which is banking, finance, service industry, or it is IT, or it is manufacturing. So I identify a niche and I start gathering names in that niche when I have to sell my product to somebody. Then I start prospecting. Then I start, what we call as filtering it down, qualifying the names and saying, yes, this person, there's a high probability this person will want my product or my service, and fixing appointments. So I have just gone one step further from just having an intent list. I'm going one step further. Then you meet the customer, and what goes into as advice. Advice constitutes of probing features about your product, what are the advantages, what are the benefits, and you handle objections that are coming in from your client. Then closure, of course, all goes on well. Then you are able to conclude a sale. Remember my first slide that I told you about what is really a sale? A sale is when you have sold a product or a service to someone where you have got what is the rightful market price that it owes to you. A sale is not when you have given something at a discounted price or you have given it out as a freebie. You have merely lost a product, but you haven't got really anything in return. So space is how you carry forward in conducting yourself during a sales conversation or a sale or an act of sales, if I can call it. Now, what is E and R? E and R, my dear friends, is where you're really making the profit. You are really in the business where your business is making money for you. Okay. So E is earnings. How much do you earn after associating all expenses? Again, gross profit, gross margins is what we are looking at. We're not looking at net margins. So if I had to travel, 25 kilometers to sell a product that, and the journey cost me about 1,000 rupees, and then I sold a product for 100 rupees, it's a no-brainer that the journey was not even worth it. Retention, if I have really done this entire process well, then I will be able to do better client engagement and servicing, because of which the client stays with me. So the client does a one-time buy of anything and then the client moves away to competition is not going to help my case. I have only incurred a cost, which is what is the case most of the time. When you incur your first client, it's actually cost, because you've developed your website, you've done your marketing, you have incurred a lot of costs making rounds and rounds of phone calls. So the client has to stay back with you. Do what it takes to make the initial set of your clients to stay back with you. Now is the method to madness. So the first thing was, how did I create a sales funnel? So I created the funnel. What is a sales process? When I'm meeting the person, how am I coming across? What am I talking? What is the most important thing? Preparation. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So know your product and spend time in your customer's shoes, not in your shoes. It is not about how good you are or how your communication is or how your product is. The very acumen of trying to understand what does the customer want. So your empathy quotient has to be very high to understand what must be your customer going through, and therefore how does this product become a fit, or how does my service become a fit. Prospecting, outreach to find the community that manages your ideal customer profile. Research, do they need what you are selling? Do they really understand what you are selling? Or is the concept completely alien to them? Approach, now that you know your customer, trying to get their attention. Pitch and presentation, again, rehearse it, articulate it, how many ever times that you have to do it, it is always worth the effort to practice it a couple of times before you go to the customer. Because in management, there is this very beautiful, concept called the moment of truth. You only get that much time to make your impression. So if you have to condense what you have to say into completely comprehensive and a power packed pitch, then practice that pitch. And then, of course, be patient, sit back, and understand that the customer is going to have questions. In fact, welcome questions, because if the customer has questions, is the biggest indicator for you that the customer did really listen to you. The customer probably did not understand the product, but he heard you. He understands that you're trying to sell him a solution, but maybe he does not understand the product, or he has a problem about the solution. And you go ahead and have a conversation as to how you can make the solution befit the customer. So it is not really objection handling, it is actually the way that you are trying to now customize the solution for your customer. Of course, closing, send a proposal, get signatures, finalize the deal. In my experience, and this will come as a complete shock to many people, in fact, in my banking experience and in my insurance experience, I have found that this last leg is what even high performing salespeople fail to complete. So the customer is convinced, you are convinced, but somewhere, I do not know whether it has to do with our, our upbringing, whether it has to do with the country that we are in. Uh, we become a little bit reticent and shy in actually asking the customer to sign on the dotted line. This is another skill that really needs to be learned. So it's like wanting to woo a partner. You're really able to say it, but put a ring. You know, try close the deal. It is not closed until it is closed. So close the deal before you come out, or whenever that it has to happen. Follow up. A customer coming aboard is when the journey has just begun. It is not the end of the journey. Again, I'd like to take you back to the previous slides where I spoke about that a customer referral is when you really know that you have won a customer. If a customer comes to you one time, then he has just come there for the experience of it, and he probably did not like it or found someone better than you. If a customer is coming back to you multiple times and is also bringing a friend across to you, that means that's when you have really closed the sale. You can congratulate yourself and say, you've done a good job of it. So who are the types of buyers? We spoke about the sales funnel, we spoke about the sales process, but who are we now selling to? You may say customer, right? It's just one customer who's going to buy it. Interestingly, there are about four kinds of customers or four kinds of buyers. Who are the buyers? User buyer. User buyer is my main motivation is I need it, I want it, right? So if I was to pick up a ring, I'm a user buyer. I need this ring, I want this ring. Financial buyer has got an ROI and cost attached to it. He's not using it. So this is my wedding ring. I need it. I want it. I'm a buyer. But who bought this ring for me? My spouse did. Now, when he is buying this ring, obviously his eyes are going to go around the jewelry shop to say, okay, do we really need a 4-gram ring, or is it to be a 2-gram ring? Should I buy something? Is the cost better here? Is there a better design somewhere else? So the financial buyer is looking at the ROI and at the cost. You are catering to two different buyers. When my fiance and I walk into a store wanting to buy a ring, please understand that there are two separate buyers over there. In another world, which is the startup world, you have a technical buyer where the buyer is convinced about the logic and information that you are providing. You also have an executive buyer who is looking at the productivity and implementation. So your venture capitalists, whoever is investing in your startup, whoever is investing in in your prototype, maybe the solution that you are giving, or it is a fintech solution. So if it is a fintech solution, then the end user would be a customer, but there is a bank who's the technical buyer over here. So is the logic and the information that you're providing fitting in? So therefore, there are all kinds of buyers. In my experience, these are the four kinds of buyers that I have seen, and I have put it down here. If you have other kinds of buyers, welcome to put it down in the chat message, and I would love to read it up and would love to, debate and deliberate around that. But the point of this entire messaging being that don't assume that your buyer is the end user of the product. You will have different kinds of customers who are coming. So the way that you are pitching, the way that you're talking, the way that you're presenting your product to them will have to go through that much of innovation and that much of research, depending on who is the buyer that you're talking to. Here's a little bit about myself, Manasa. And when we were chatting up the other day, also I was telling you that I'm a BSc in zoology with an MA in psychology, and then I did various jobs for some time, and then I got into a career, and then sales happened to me. So what really happened when I started? When I went with full mojo into a sales role, the first thing that I realized is it is a science. It is also sometimes a math, because you need to understand your target. You need to have the ability to break down your target. You need to have the ability to say, okay, this target can be achieved in this form and that target can be achieved in that form. It was very interesting for me after 2 years of my life as an entrepreneur in a very simple consulting and coaching industry to realize that I actually have 5 legs of income that I can make. So when I'm really thinking about customers, when I have now broken that down into 5 legs of income, therefore 5 customer niches. In fact, in 1 leg of income, I can look at 3, 4 customer niches. I have suddenly realized that I have 7 to 8 customer niches that I can even work on. So it is a science. You've got to break down the target. You have to break the math down. You have to understand the science behind it. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, it need not be something that you're born with. I have seen many a startup founder shy away from the fact saying, I'm great at building the story. I'm great, I'm very convinced about this product. But when you tell me to talk to somebody about it, I'm not able to do it. Well, you will have to do it because it is your baby. And you just have to develop the science and, come in with a lot of confidence, and it will naturally happen to you. The second myth that I have busted is that communication is not what I said. Communication is what they heard. So even in today's session, I may have spoken about sales, but maybe you would have picked up something very different from my slides today. And that depends on what is the situation that you were in before you just came into the session. What were you thinking about, and what really rang a bell with what you said. So communication is what they heard and not what was said. Unlearning and relearning is important with every customer. Please do not paint all customers with the same brush. It is never one size fits all. I have an interesting anecdote in the next slide, so I'm just going to hold on to my thoughts until then. And like I said, like it or not, numbers speak louder than words. I have tried a lot shying away from this even during my banking journey, saying that, oh no, I'm not a salesperson, I shouldn't be doing it. But when I was able to break it down into a science, I really started liking what I was doing, the customer interactions. But end of the day, I had to tell myself that if I have not met my targets, that have been assigned to me, if I have not met my stated goal, even now when I'm an entrepreneur, when I tell myself that I need to bring in so many clients for the month, and if I have not met it, then I understand that I'm not moving forward. I'm not progressing. So basically, like it or not, numbers will speak louder than words. Darshana, I like the message that you have just put in, saying that sale is a transfer of emotions. Absolutely, yeah, it is a transfer of how passionate I am about the product to how passionate will it be when you buy the product from me. So I know that we have covered the sales funnel, we have spoken about the spacer technique, we have spoken about who are the different kinds of buyers. Now, is this what it takes? Because remember when we spoke about the Q, we said the most important thing is the emotional quotient. So this is what today I'd like to leave you all with. And this is the thought. If you should pick up anything from today's talk, then please pick this up. Even if you have not picked up the rest, it's fine. Because this is the most important thing in sales. And I can't agree with you more that it's a transfer of emotions. Because before people decide what they think of your message, they decide what they think of you. Why am I important? Am I important because of the intelligence I bring to the table, or how am I dressed, or what race or ethnicity do I belong to? No. Or maybe yes. I am important because the person on the other side who's speaking to me first wants to know whether he or she can trust me for what I'm saying. So the basic mindset that we have to first learn to build is on how can I build a communication with trust? How can I build a relationship of trust? Here's another, this again I picked up from this book called Sales EQ. It is a very nice book that, anyone who's aspiring to build a sales mindset should pick up. It says most salespeople begin the sales process from a position of logic and gradually shift towards emotion. In contrast, buyers tend to begin the buying process with the emotional level and over time shift towards logic. It was very incidental that just last week I was hearing one of the uh, biggest venture capitalists, a very leading, a very honorable person in Bangalore, speak about his decision-making process when he's investing in startups. He says, I look at the numbers and then I listen to my gut. And then the interviewer asked him that, oh, then you must be going by the numbers. He says, no, I go by the guts and then I justify it with the numbers. So this is how, many people, this is how, in fact, everyone does their decision. They go by the gut and then they justify it with logic. Now, should I, as a salesperson, start emoting? Am I then expected to go and only impress upon people as to who I am, where do I come from? Not at all. But all that I'm saying is, do remember in the sublime that people are judging you over there. Who are you coming across as? Are you coming across as an honest person with, with integrity about what you're trying to speak, or are you putting on a whole act over there because that can be seen through? So, how can a coach help, Manasa? A coach can help, and what do I do? Or basically, let me just talk about what involves, if you are hiring a consultant or a coach to become a great salesperson. Now, some of the physical qualities, and then I will come to the sublime, is grooming, grooming, and grooming. I do understand that we are in the Zoom world. I do understand that we are in the virtual world where we are now very focused on how we look, on the top half. But uh, it is very important that in whichever form you appear, whether it is to your own team, whether it is to your own customers, whether it is to anyone who is going to invest, you come across as someone who is well groomed. Why? Because that portrays a lot of seriousness about you as an individual. And people want to do with business with people they like, with people who appeal to them. You don't have to overdo it. You can be normal. We all understand that today it is a work from home scenario. So yes, you can wear your home clothes, but be groomed. There is a big difference, when you are not groomed, even when you're wearing, let's say great clothes. So grooming is very different from, the clothes that you're wearing. Grooming says that you took 2 minutes in front of the mirror to ask yourself whether I'm presentable. The second is always have a sales docket, whether it is physical or whether it is digital. Even if you're, if anybody has asked you, because patience runs thin, everyone does not have the time for a big presentation all the time. If somebody says, "Hey, can you send me a one pager on what you do?" Be ready with it all the time. You should be able to talk about yourself at any point in time that they are asking for it. KYC is, of course, know your customer. And I put that in because, I've been from the banking industry. But what is KYS? It is know yourself. How do you speak? Do you stammer? Do you stutter? Do you have a way of using a favorite word all the time? Do you have a certain tone of your voice? Are you smiling? Are you not? Are you making eye contact? Do you catch yourself and say, okay, probably I was not making eye contact. Now let me look into the camera and speak. So as much as we emphasize on KYC, KYS on how you are appearing physically is also very important. Last but not the least is be on time every time. Because when you're on time, you're actually respecting yourself for the work that you do. It is not about whether you have given respect to the customer. The customer knows that you're very serious about what you have to talk about. Hence, you are on time. Customer can still wait. Now comes to the sublime, something that we really don't talk about, or maybe in the post COVID era, we've been speaking about this a lot. What is required for you to be a great sales guy? You need to be able to articulate. Communication is overrated. Articulation is what is important. Your ability to speak in a language that the customer understands. It is not your ability to speak in a language which is very far flung and nobody understands. Instead of speaking about the product, always speak about the features. Again, what is features? You're placing it in front of the customer and saying, this is what it will do to you. So, how is it going to change your world? Is what features is about. How is it built? Is what product is about. Asking versus probing. Never ask or question a customer directly. Go with the flow, probe. Go with the customer language. If a customer has left you somewhere, take that thread up. And we're all humans and we will pick up this art very slowly. So go with the customer thread on asking questions. Listening versus empathizing. You have spoken, I have heard, versus you have spoken, I have rephrased, I have requoted, I have asked questions in order to understand you better is empathizing. Customer versus community. When we build a product, do not build it for one customer. Build it so that a community at large will benefit. So it's student community, housewife community, engineering community, doctors community, salesman community, marketing community. Which community does your product or service address? In order to, coaching and consulting somewhere helps bring these thought processes on the plate. When we try to build it all by ourselves, and many of us, many of you who are listening in today, certainly have the acumen to think for all this for yourself. But if you are a little hard pressed, if your bandwidth is getting choked executing your vision, then it is a great idea to bounce it off with a coach or a consultant who can probably help you put all this on a plate so that you're able to see the big picture, you're able to connect the dots, you're able to ask yourself whether I'm in the right direction or not, and then push forward. What more can a coach do? So you I'm sure are a very successful entrepreneur, your startup is doing well, you're scaling up. But there is also something called as continuity. So vision without execution is hallucination, says Thomas Edison. So what can a coach do to help you in continuing? A coach can help you build resilience because like we see times are changing. There was a pre-COVID scenario, then there is a COVID, now there is a first wave, there's a second wave, there's a third wave. The universe is seems to be in some state of flux all the time. So what do I need to do to keep my bearings? What do I need to do to keep the morale of my team high? What do I need to do to stay relevant? For this, it helps to address it independently with somebody who can help you think through this. Number two, negotiation skills. So over a period of time, we tend to think like a horse with blinkers. So we have a particular customer niche that we are talking to, and we kind of know, what are the objections, how to do objection handling, how to kind of take questions. But suddenly there is somebody else who comes in, and the whole equation changes. Suddenly there is a threat of a new entrant. There is some other event in the industry whereby you have to revisit your customers, you have to look at a new set of customers. So again and again, at whichever part of our lives that we are in, negotiation skills, the ability to go back and reposition yourself, reproposition is important. Third, of course, the ability to change. We all think of one scenario. So another very nice startup started by two other friends, and I loved them for what they said. They started with a particular idea, but 2 years down the line, they were doing something else. They did not change the model, but they kind of changed the way that they were presenting. And when I asked them, how they were successful, they said we learned to change. Yes, we wanted to run our books in a certain way. We realized that is not the way the world was accepting us. We completely changed. So the ability to change when change looks very tough because you're so sold to your idea, it is so much your baby. You don't really want to change the color and face of it, but yet you may have to do it for the sake of for the sake of the industry which is changing. Dealing with difficult people, we're doing this all the time, whether it is family, it is friends, it is spouse, it is investors, wherever it is. Uh, and why is it important for you to learn, or why is it important for all of us to stay calm in dealing with difficult people? Like I said, we are selling in some way or the other, interdepartmental, intra-departmental, to another investor. It is important for me to stay calm. It is important for me to know what I'm talking to you about. Hence, if I have the art of dealing with those difficult people, then dealing with the rest becomes easy. Last but not the least, sales is all about perform and transform. You got to keep clocking yourself every day. You must know whether you are making a move forward or not. While you are clocking yourself and you are getting your customer today, what is also very important is your ability to continuously transform, your ability to see what is coming, what is the future industry want, what is the future generation want. And while I am clocking a sale today, to be able to take some time out and ask myself, what do I need to do better, or what do I need to do today to stay relevant for tomorrow? Transformation is about staying relevant. It is not about being a different person. It is about bringing yourself up to a stage where you are able to live at any point in time. So ask the right questions, you will get more sales, is the last tip that I want to leave with. What kind of questions do I have to ask? I have to ask skin level questions, bone level questions, heart level questions. We have to understand what motivates the buyer. Finally, it is about adding value to the customer's life. So, just as a session recap, Manisha, what have we kind of covered today? Very briefly, we said it is mindset over matter. We understand the types of buyers and what motivates them. How do you build your sales funnel? First impressions are forever impressions. Please prepare for your calls. Manage objections gracefully. Remember, the customer is willing to have a conversation with you, which is why you have an objection. Ask the right questions, and thank you.
Thank you, Sreedevi. I think that was quite a properly explained conversation around being a celebrity. So, again, thank you so much. I'm just bringing up a few questions. I have some ready here for you. While we also wait for more questions from our audience is free to drop in their questions. This is what will be picked up by our speaker here, and she will be answering these questions. Sridevi, before we go into anything, just like something that is in my mind, right? Do startups really need to know the art of selling? Is it very important, especially in a D2C platform, especially for D2C platforms for that matter? Is it really important to know, or does it just happen?
Interesting you ask me that, because this is what all startups ask. They say we have a product, we know we'll do good marketing and it will sell. Let me tell you something. In sales, technically, there are three stages. One is your selling process, then there is a buying process, and then there is a decision process. Uh, no matter what product you do, somebody out there has to ultimately take the decision of buying it. You need to have the sales mindset, therefore, even in the design stage, to see how will you influence this buying process and the decision making process. So even if you are in a D2C scenario, you must develop the sales mindset. You may not be physically selling to somebody, but developing the mindset is very important.
I think that that answers the question. So, what is the best way to equip a sales team, right? isn't it more so like an on the job training would be much better, or is it coaching? So which of the two?
Okay, so training is a very, very different intervention than coaching is, and I'm glad you asked me that because, um, yeah, we kind of tend to use these words a little loosely, and therefore they are interchangeable. Training is picking up a skill set. Okay, therefore it can be one to many, it can be one to one. So anytime that you are not aware of a skill set, or you're not aware of or you do not have a particular acumen and you have to pick it up, you need to be trained. However, coaching is to understand that despite having the skill set, what is it that is stopping you from going forward? Why are you not able to become the best version of yourself? What does it take you to, move to the next plane? You're doing X amount of work today, but you know you're capable of 2X, but something is coming in the way. That's where coaching comes in. So it's a very intimate, one-to-one, intense form of intervention.
Absolutely understood. So, okay, again, from your personal experience, right? Is this a male-dominated field that you're in?
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, I think it is a combination of male and female energy. So, as much as you have to be passionate, you have to be compassionate. You need to empathize with your client. Yeah, you need to plan well. You need to be well groomed. And I really don't see why this has to be a male dominated or a female dominated area at all. Do you have the passion for the product that you're carrying? Gender just does not matter.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what should so you are a sales coach.
Right.
You also are a strategy coach, and you're also a founder, right? You're an entrepreneur. So,
Right.
what should one the mentee, or what should they expect in a sales coaching session? Like, how does it go? What is the outcome? How do they start? Is it like a is it a process over a few days, or does it just end in a couple of maybe hours in a day? How does that work?
So, if it is an organization that is coming up to a coach, we first look at the strategy behind that product. So, when an organization is coming, typically they are saying, this is our existing productivity metric. We want to increase the productivity metric to this, or this is our business output. We want to increase it to this. So then we are looking at a whole hog of things. So from a factor analysis perspective, we probably look at the product, we look at the process, we look at whether the people are well trained, and then we look at how can we make it better. Therefore, there is a consultant and a coaching hat that you wear. Because you're also coaching the organization to say, what do you think you are capable of? What do you think you're aspiring for? Is it even real? Is it a realistic target? From a personal perspective, so if it is a head of a business who's coming to you for coaching, if it's an executive who's coming to you for coaching, their typical asks, Manasa, are they are trying to say that, is my team understanding my vision? How do I convert this passion to my team? What should and then we look at personality patterns. Are they coming across as someone who's very cynical? Are they coming across as someone who is overexcited about delivery, and therefore are you pushing your people away from you? Are you coming across as someone who's assuming that the team understands, and therefore you have not been communicating enough? So there are two different facets from which we look at all of this, but there is one common line when you come to a coach. A coach co-partners in your journey to move from plane A to whichever plane that you aspire to be in, be it an organization or be it an individual.
Absolutely. So, what you mean to say is somebody who's probably looking for some sort of course correction in the way they work is also uh, an ideal candidate to be like to come in and talk to a coach, right? Because they might require that sort of course correction.
100%. So organizations which are merging, which are buying over, where they understand that one culture is going to now, meet another culture. So how do we amalgamate both cultures? that's a perfect coaching moment for the organization as well as for the leaders in the organization.
Absolutely. I think that is clear. So that is done. So I just wanted to know, as an entrepreneur yourself, right? When did you realize that you when was it in your journey that you wanted to become an entrepreneur? You have had close to 2 decades of experience in BFSI and more. So it has been a mixed, your experience itself has been mixed totally. So is it that when it was, when you understood that you want to become an entrepreneur, because you moved away from your whole experience, so it was not the same experience that you did, that you were working in, so this is a completely different thing for you, so consulting and coaching. So how did that come out to be? When was that point that you decided that this is what you wanted your journey to be?
In short, when I was doing very well for myself. I was very happy in the space that I was in. I was doing well for myself, and like I said, deep gratitude to all my mentors and my seniors who have helped me in my banking and in my BFSI journey. That I, at one point in time, I stopped to say, what is it that I have picked up the most from all of them? They say there comes a moment of ikigai within yourself. That you're doing something that is making money for you, and you're becoming better at it day by day. And then there is that point where you say, okay, now can I translate this good work and let it help many other people? That's when I said, can I step forward as a sales and strategy coach? Because I am passionate about it. It gives me immense pleasure to see companies or individuals um, look into themselves, look inwards, course correct, and then move to the next plane. There is immense pleasure in working as a coach.
Absolutely. I think, Sridevi, we have come to the end of our time, and we will stop right now. But thank you so much. I think even in the questions and how you sort of took it through the session, a lot of people have understood why and how it is that that they get their company to the next level, and how they become a celebrity, right? So that really helped. I hope everybody here also enjoyed it as much as I did, and though I am not in sales anymore. I was once upon a time. I did relate to most of this, and did end up understanding most of the conversations that we've had. So thank you once again, Sridevi. This was a wonderful conversation. We thank our audience as well. Thank you so much for joining us on our first session of the year. We hope you all are staying safe. The things are not good looking that great outside, so please
Yeah.
do take care of yourselves, and we hope to catch you in our next session. So thank you so much. Thank you once again, Sridevi. We'll
Thank
see
you,
you.
Manasa, for having me. Thanks a lot. This was amazing. Bye.
Thank you so much.